what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, where's my brethren in South Florida? And speaking of South Florida, I wanted to basically, because I didn't have a chance to do this on Friday or Saturday, so we're gonna get to it. We're gonna kick off our week the right way here on True School Sports, and I wanted to give you guys just like a brief rundown because there was a fight card here on Friday. I wasn't televised, but there were some notable names on the card, and I kind of want to just run through what it was that I had a chance to witness on Friday. Because you guys been seeing the interviews, you guys probably wondering what the hell was BT at, but there was a fight card at the Hard Rock Casino here in Hollywood. It was put on by Heavyweight Factory, so a big shout out to the Heavyweight Factory. They actually, for those of you who may be wondering, who may be in the South Florida area, like they are planning to do more fight cards this year. I was told by a very reliable source that they're looking at doing maybe 3 to 4 more fight cards this year. So if you're in the South Florida area, be on the lookout for those. But wanted to run through the card, so this may be a longer video than normal, but here we go. So in the first fight, we had Roberto Duran Jr. Obviously the son of the legendary Roberto Duran. He made his pro debut against another guy making his pro debut, and a guy by the name of Miguel Morales out of Orlando, Florida. And it was a good performance by Roberto Duran Jr. I'm gonna say it was pretty much the perfect storm for a pro debut. You know, he fought a guy who was at the same level as him. The guy was a very slick boxer. Didn't really open up much, but he knew how to move around in there. And it required Duran to be patient. It required him to, at certain points in the fight, show some good defense, show some good counterpunching. And it was like as the rounds went on, he just slowly but surely and methodically began breaking this guy down, began to find the openings, as they would say. And towards the latter stages of the fourth round, he got the stoppage, pivoted really nicely into a left hook, and ultimately wound up getting him out of there. So you guys may have seen the interview that I did with him before and after his fight, but it was a really good performance. So look out for Roberto Duran Jr. or Robert Duran. He doesn't like being called Roberto, so we call him Robert Duran. But Roberto Duran's son, making a good first impression with me, so be on the lookout for him. Apparently, he trains out of Sweat Boxing Gym here in South Florida, so I'll probably have to make my way down there really, really soon. He's a welterweight contender, so be on the lookout for him. In the next bout, we had Jorge Romero fighting a guy whose name I cannot pronounce, but it's a guy named Sylvester, I think, Ataji. I don't know, some guy from Hungary. But Jorge Romero is a bantamweight prospect here out of Miami. 4-0, 3 KOs. I had a chance to interview him as well, so go check that out if you haven't already. Really nice guy. Got a second round stoppage against the guy. Really, there wasn't much to dissect. I mean, I just saw a guy who, although he is a Cuban, like we said in this interview, he fights very much in that Mexican style where he likes to likes to throw punches to the body, likes to chop the body, as they would say. And I mean, he landed a really nice liver shot. He threw a straight right hand right in the liver, and the guy pretty much quit in the second round. So go in for him. I'll be keeping my eye on him as well. Seemed to be a real nice guy, a fun fighter to watch, and a guy who enjoys being a fun fighter. So I'll definitely be looking for him. In the next fight, we had a 122-pound fight between Jesse Cruz, the guy who was just a local fighter, 12-6-1, fighting Sam Rodriguez, who was a bit of the underdog coming into the fight. Jesse Cruz, it is worth noting that this was the only fight where the quote-unquote A-side fighter, if you want to call it Jesse Cruz, that he did lose that fight. To be honest, it was one of the, I don't want to disrespect the guys, but it was one of the more, for me at least, forgettable bouts of the card because of the fact that he just, it was competitive. I remember the fight being competitive, but I'll be honest, I wouldn't have paid that much attention to this one. I think I was like doing interviews just only for most of that fight because it was only 6 rounds. So from what I do remember seeing, it was very competitive. I think both guys gave a good account of themselves, but ultimately it was Sam Rodriguez who got the win. So shout out to Sam Rodriguez out of Palm Bay, Florida. Now, the fight after that was Steve Jafar, right? Steve Jafar, if you guys don't know, was a fantastic amateur a couple years ago before he turned pro. He was actually probably good enough to make the Olympic team. I forgot. I was interviewing Derek Santos, who was a trainer of Sullivan Barrera and Steve Jafar as well out here in Boca at the Boca Pow. And he was telling me, he said in our interview the reason why Steve Jafar didn't make the Olympic team, and I can't remember it right now. But he was a very good amateur. I believe he was like the #1 ranked amateur in his weight class back when he was an amateur. He got out to a bit of a rocky start in the pros. I believe they had him fighting at cruiserweight, weight that he really wasn't. It wasn't best suited for him, and ever since then, I believe ever since he's been a light heavyweight, I believe he's won 17-0 because he won this fight against a guy by the name of Zoltan Serra, a guy from Hungary who has over 50 fights. And this guy was very awkward. He was one of those guys, just by the way he moves, like you can kind of tell, like you don't even have to hit this guy, and like he just lays gonna fall over. But he was just really, really awkward. So he's one of those guys that just require like a lot of freaking patience. But credit to Steve. Steve was very patient. The guy was actually a decent defensive fighter. He made Steve miss a couple shots. But credit to Steve. Steve stayed patient. He kept cutting that distance, going to the body. And all in all, you could definitely tell his timing was off because he didn't fight. He didn't have one single fight in all of 2017. And he's had a long layoff. So, all things considered, I thought it was a good performance by Steve Jafar, and he's looking to move up in the light heavyweight ranking. So, he expressed to me that he would like to fight his former sparring partner, Sergey Kovalev. So, we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, as they put on more local fight cards, we see more of Steve Jafar because he is a pretty good light heavyweight prospect. So, be on the lookout for him. And the next bout we had Harold Calderon fighting Ronald Montez. Now, Ronald Montez had an 18-7 record, but he had a lot of knockouts. 16 of his 18 wins were knockouts. He's from Colombia, and he seemed to be one of those tough, rugged guys. Harold Calderon's been a guy that, through the local boxing circles here in South Florida, from me, has been getting a lot of hype, a lot of buzz, a lot of notoriety. And I really didn't know much about Harold. I didn't know much about Harold Calderon, so this is my first impression of him. He was a southpaw boxer who, I definitely saw that this guy was a thinking man's fighter. He's a guy who likes to think in the ring. So I saw him throwing all kinds of shots. He was throwing jabs to the head, jabs to the stomach. He was cutting the distance. He was throwing punches to the body. He was boxing from the outside. He was boxing from mid range, and he didn't really have a whole lot of rounds to show the skill set, but from what I saw, man, he looked pretty good, and he made Ronald Montez quit in the third round. So he improved to 15-0 with 9 KOs. So I'll be keeping my eye on Harold Calderon, welterweight prospect. We'll see where he goes moving forward in his career. It is also worth noting that Harold Calderon, for one reason or another, has a relationship with the rapper Jim Jones, and Jim Jones walked him out to the ring. So that was pretty interesting. So shout out to Jim Jones. Ballin'. In the next fight, we had JD Martinez fighting Jose Cortez in a bout at 152 pounds, but actually, that's what it says on the bout sheet, but it actually wound up being at 157, despite the fact that JD, I believe, fights at 147 because he couldn't find many opponents at his natural weight, so he agreed to take the fight at 157 or whatever, the contracted weight, even though that's not technically a weight class. And the guy he was fighting was very basic, but he was very tough and he was very rugged. He liked to come forward, liked to press the action. And JD had a hard time early on staying composed. He had a hard time keeping at the end of that jab. And ultimately, it was a fight that was 4 rounds, and I thought it was a draw. But I don't think JD Martinez won the fight. But he got the decision, which is not a surprise, being that he's the undefeated hometown fighter. So. He got the win. I didn't think he looked the best, but he's still undefeated, and we're going to see how he continues to develop in his career. So, shout out to JD Martinez and my main man Josh Dempsey, who worked his corner at a Fifth Street gym. Y'all know I got lots of love for the Fifth Street gym over there in South Beach. Big shout out to them. But I thought I didn't think he won that fight. Then in the next fight you had, and by the way, I'm sorry if this video is kind of long and drawn out. This was a very long card. This is not your average boxing card. Like, they really had a lot of fights in this card. In the next fight they had, there was a fight in the featherweight division between a guy named that was getting a lot of hype from people that put on the event, I can't even say his name, Musa Tursynaliyev, and he's from Kazakhstan. I believe he's from Kazakhstan. I could be dead wrong though, but I remember him being from Kazakhstan. One of the promoters even went as far as calling him the featherweight version of Gennady Golovkin, and he kind of fights in that way. He fought a guy in the Dominican Republic who was really just there. Honestly, just there to lose. Really, he was there to lose. He was an opponent, but he fought the guy, and he was very just very like methodical. You know, he was pressuring him. He was cutting the ring off. He was showing all kinds of different counter punches. He was setting traps. He really looked good. So it was a fight where there really wasn't much resistance offered to him from his opponent. But you know, it seemed to be one of those typical prospect building fights where you're just kind of getting your record up and you're working your way up in the rankings. So you know, we'll look for more from Musa, but he looked pretty good against an overmatched opponent. So we'll see how he develops his career moving forward. Then in the next fight, now I'm not gonna lie, this next fight here kind of disappointed me because and the fight was it was the only heavyweight fight on the card. It was Ivan Ditchko, you know, the standout amateur, the guy that in the Olympics, you know, he had a fantastic fight with Anthony Joshua, who now is the champion who's basically the guy at heavyweight. He lost a very close fight in the Olympics with Anthony Joshua. You know, they're trying to fast track him into getting a world title shot. He fought a guy by the name of Stephon Kernon from Brooklyn, New York. And Stephon Kernon was a guy that, as an amateur, you know, he just turned pro. He only had 2 fights coming into this fight. He was 2-0 with 2 knockouts. But Stephon Kernon was a guy that a couple years ago, back in 2014, he actually made the New York Golden Gloves final. And he lost the final to George Arias, who some of you in the New York area may know, who's a decent amateur boxer. He lost him in the finals. So I was thinking, man, with his amateur experience, with the way he was kind of talking at the press conference, you know, seeing kind of how he was at the locker room, I was thinking, man, this is going to be a decent fight, and it's going to be a heavyweight fight. And I was looking forward to seeing Ivan Ditchko get some rounds. Like, I even went as far as to say, like, it could be the fight of the card. But I was dead wrong. I mean, Ivan Ditchko went in there and he just obliterated the guy in like 30 seconds. I mean, he hit him with a short right hand right upside the head, and it looked like if you guys have ever been in a car crash, you know, you get in a car crash or you see someone get in a car crash and they automatically just get whiplash. Like, it was like one of those things. He got clipped with a right hand and it was like a whiplash, and he's kind of like fell back and he didn't know where he was, and that was that. And Ivan Ditchko improved to 7-0 with 6 knockouts. So he's moving his way up the heavyweight rankings. You know, kind of just building his record up. So I don't want to put too much stock into the win. You know, he was roughly about 6 inches taller than Stephon Kernon. But it was still a good performance considering, you know, the amateur experience and, you know, all that good stuff. So, you know, shout out to Ditchko. Then in the next fight, now mind you guys, there's 3 more fights I'm talking about. But in the next fight, we had Juan Carlos Payano, you know, former world champion. Fighting a guy by the name of Mike Plania out of the Philippines. Now, I really didn't know much about Mike Plania. But I mean, this is a really entertaining fight. Back and forth action. You know, you had Payano being the older fighter fighting the younger, fresher fighter, with more hand speed, definitely more power. He was hurting Payano early on, but Payano's veteran experience kind of took over mid-fight, and he was able to grind his way to a unanimous decision victory. So he picked up the, even though it's a kind of an irrelevant kind of trinket title, but like the NABO title, which is really nothing in boxing. But it's a good step forward, you know, in his career as he rebuilds and tries to get back into world title contention and what's a very, you know, packed division now. You know, you got like the likes of Zolani Tete and Naoya Inoue and really talented fighters at the super bantamweight division. So looking forward to seeing how Payano moves up and how he does in his career. So that was that. Now, the performance of the night ultimately belonged to the next guy on the card, which was to me Logan Yoon. You know, Logan Yoon, in my opinion, had the biggest step up fight of anybody in this card. Logan Yoon, for those of you who don't know him, because honestly, he's kind of he's still relatively unknown in boxing worldwide or even nationwide because there's not much tape on him. He really hasn't fought on television yet, so you're not going to know who Logan Yoon is unless you are highly involved in the American amateur boxing scene or if you live in South Florida and you pay attention to the boxing scene here. And Logan Yoon been getting a lot of hype from the gyms, like from the Heavyweight Factory. I learned a lot about him this week. You know, he beat Ryan Garcia in the amateurs, so you can't beat a guy like Ryan Garcia in the amateurs if you're not talented. And after watching the fight, man, I can tell you guys that the kid seems to be the goods. You know, he was going into his 11th professional fight, and he was fighting a guy that many of you may remember, Juan Carlos Salgado, a Mexican fighter, 27-7-1 coming into the fight. You guys may remember him as the guy that back in 2009 knocked out Jorge Linares in the first round, he became world champion in that fight. I believe that was the WBA title at the time, and it was a massive step up for Logan Yoon. A guy, to fight a former world champion, a guy that has beaten the likes of Jorge Linares, that's a big step up for someone in the 11th professional fight. And Logan just handled it with relative ease. I would even go as far as to say that he boxed a shutout. He showed, to me, the whole skill set. He showed fantastic counterpunching. He showed the ability to fight on the inside, the ability to fight on the outside. He showed really good defense, commanded the range really well. And, Logan's one of them kids, man. I think, he's 19 years old, but to beat a world champion, a former world champion in your 11th professional fight at 19 years old, that says a lot. I think that says a lot, and I'm gonna be keeping my eye out on him because I like the mental makeup of Logan Yoon. Like, he's a fighter that he's very. First of all, you talk to the kid, he's just he's just a chill dude. He's just a real chill dude. But then, like, in an attempt onto that fight, Salgado was kind of like he didn't want to engage because Logan had put him through the grinder for 9 rounds and pretty much just beat him to a pulp, but just couldn't get the knockout. And then in the 10th round, he kind of wasn't engaging, and Logan literally told him, like, get in the middle of the ring, like, come fight me. And, like, he's not the kind of person that kind of beats his chest or shows off, but to see someone like him with that kind of dog in him, and let me know that, hey, while he is a nice kid, like, he has some dog in him, and you need just a little bit of dog in you if you're going to be a world champion in the sport. So I think he has the tools. I think he has the mental makeup. It's just about getting the proper seasoning as a fighter, getting those right fights to continue building yourself up. And, you guys may not know who Logan Yoon is now, but I'm going to venture to say, year and a half time, you guys are going to hear about Logan Yoon, barring any massive setbacks. So he had an impressive win against a former world champion in his 11th fight. And mind you, Ryan Garcia that same week had a fight against pretty much a nobody, and he knocked him out in the first round, and he's getting all kinds of praise for it. But I'm trying to tell you guys, Logan Yoon's performance was much more impressive than Ryan Garcia's one round knockout. For the simple fact that it was against a guy that was a former world champion who beat a guy in Linares that we all know now to be one of the best fighters in boxing today. So, big shout out to Logan Yoon. But in the main event, this fight probably had the most in terms of future title fight implications, because you had a guy in Stephon Young in the bantamweight division, a guy who's fought the likes of Antonio Nieves, Nikolai Potapov, in his most notable fights, he's gotten pretty much draws in all of them. And in the Nieves fight, you could probably argue he lost that fight. But this is a chance for him fighting a guy in Reymart Gaballo from the Philippines. A guy in Reymart Gaballo who is generally unknown, a guy in Reymart Gaballo who really was untested, and you'll be led to believe going into the fight that Stephon Young was the favorite, based on the experience, based on just you knowing a little bit more about the guys he fought. But it was a fight where Gaballo, his power seemed to be the difference in the fight early on and late, because his power and work rate actually, because he hurt him early on in the fight, knocked him down. Then towards the latter stages, his work rate was the difference. Stephon Young has what I like to call in boxing Adrian Broner syndrome. Adrian Broner has a lot of gifts, a lot of very a talented fighter to many people, but he doesn't let his hands go. And it was the same thing with Stephon Young. He didn't let his hands go. He was trying to pick his shots. He was trying to bait him into counter punches without setting up the counter punches or knowing how to move to have those counter punches. So it was a fight where there was some pretty wide scorecards that I didn't agree with, but Reymart Gaballo won this fight, and he captured the interim WBA world title, which basically just means that he's going to be in line to fight the winner of Naoya Inoue versus Jamie McDonald, which is going to be a good fight. So basically, the way I see it is, in this fight right here, I got a chance to witness in person the guy that's probably going to be one of Naoya Inoue's first fights at 118 pounds, and Inoue is probably he's one of the highest rated boxers right now in the world, and so we'll see, man. I think Gaballo, in terms of his power and speed, I don't think either one of those really matches Inoue, but if he touches Inoue, he can really do some damage. So could be a good fight down the road, but overall, that was the fight card. It was a fun card to be at. It was really damn long. You guys just saw how long it took me to run through every fight on the card. It took me damn near 20 minutes. The fight card started at 7 o'clock. It didn't end till like 2. So, if you were there and wherever you paid, you got your money's worth. So big shout out to Henry Revolta, Chris Lawrence, and the entire team at the Heavyweight Factory, all the fighters who were on the card. And yeah, man, other side notes of the fight. I want to say big shout out to Evander Holyfield. I actually had a chance to sit with Evander Holyfield for like the last 3 fights, and we had a chance to talk. Evander Holyfield's a really humble guy. Like 30, at least 40 people in that time I sat with him asking for a picture. He didn't turn that one person down. So, Evander Holyfield, shout out to him. Really good guy. What else happened that night? Big shout out to my main man Andre. Andre show love. Andre from a Big Media Buzz show me love and made sure I was squared away with my media credentials and whatnot. So big shouts to Andre and Teresa of the Hard Rock. And overall, man, it was a good fight card. And I'm happy that the Hard Rock Casino Hollywood, they recently built like a new event center, which is kind of smaller but more intimate. So I wouldn't be surprised in the future if you see some Showbox cards, some Showtime, like those Showbox cards that they have every now and then on Fridays, if one of those comes to South Florida soon. So that's what I'm hoping happens, and I hope they keep putting on good competitive fight cards like this one was, because there was a lot of really good fights on this card. So I hope, despite the fact that there was no TV, I hope I could give you guys a little insight to what happened on March 23rd at what was dubbed as the Rumble at the Rock on March 23rd at the Hard Rock Casino. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single video, my name is Brendan Taylor, and you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dane. So until next time, take care, guys.